Okay, so we're doing in Noed Katan, we're doing on Tess Summit Base, and we're up to explaining the Mishnah, V'ose Isha Tachshiteha. So basically, the Mishnah is continuing to discuss the things that you can do during the Chol HaMoed, even though it involves some sort of a work, some sort of an effort, on Chol HaMoed. One should not really do things that distract from the holiday. But oise isha tachshiteha, that means that a woman may uh, do all of her cosmetic treatments. That's what the Mishnah said. What exactly are the treatments that we're talking about? So Tana Rabbanon, we learned.
I'm surprised if any rabbi knows what a woman's doing there.
Well, what?
I'm surprised if anyone knows what all those things are that
Ah,
they
yeah.
do.
Well, today they have a whole industry, more than an industry. Mm. So, so what are the things that we're talking about? Eluhain tachshite noshim. So the following are the various types of cosmetics. So first we have koicheles. What is koicheles? Uh, that is a kind of a paint. They paint their eyelashes. Noisenes kechoil bein eineho. They put this kechoil paint between the her eyelashes. I guess what they do. I'm not even sure the exact names for the different cosmetics treatments. Uh, and Rashi says, "Koicheles nisenes kichoil beineno." She puts the paint in between her eyes. That means the eyelids. Kidei shedoimois noim. So they should look beautiful. I guess doimos noim. The other thing is poikesis. Poikesis is called they remove, or Rashi says, when you make the hairline on the hair, part of the hair goes one way. Rashi says, look, Rashi says poikesis mechalekes sairo lekan ulekan. She splits the hair here and here. I think that's called, what do they call that when they make the line in the hair? I'm not sure.
Apart,
A what?
apart, P-A-R-T,
A pult. Okay.
part, P-A-R-T.
Okay. So then, and further, umaviro serak al poneho. That's kind of a, I guess, it's a kind of a drug um, to make it gives the face like a reddish look. Rashi says, Rashi says, what is that? Some echot kidesha tiro aduma, some kind of a drug, so that she should look red. It gives her a reddish face. It's some makeup, I
Rouge.
guess. It's makeup, yeah, some makeup. The Ikodamri, other people. So these are all things that they allowed to do it, allowed for her to do it. Koicheles, pekeses, umaviras rak al paneo, to paint, to basically put makeup on the face. And Rashi says, I guess reddish is a kind of a what they used. The iko de amris maveres rak al paneo sholmato, that it's talking about removal, the pubic hair is talking about sochin al panel shalmato, kidei lahavir sar shalmato, to remove the hair below. Okay, so now the Gemara has an interesting thing. The Gemara says the visu de Rav Chizda The wife of Rav Chizda, mikashto be'anpi kalto. So she would adorn herself in front of her daughter-in-law. And this was on Chol HaMoed. Now, if she had already a daughter-in-law, it means she had a married son. So she was already a woman in the Middle Ages, right? So she adorned herself in front of her daughter-in-law, and she used, Rashi says, Hoiso mikashta. How Rashi says, Kihani kishutin kida amar hocha. Those were the adornments, the cosmetics that we said over here. So she used that on Chol HaMoed. And why does it say in front of a daughter-in-law to tell you that she was already a middle-aged woman? She already had a daughter-in-law. She had a married son. Rashi says, "Ba'anpe kalta," in front of her daughter-in-law. Shehoiso kal kach skena. She was already so old. Shehoiso lokalo, that she already had a daughter-in-law. She Aisha's beno, which was a son, which was a wife to her son. And I guess Rav Huna Bar Chinena, he didn't think that older women, he think this is something for newly married women, that you allow them to adorn themselves because they're still into beautifying themselves. But once she reached the age that she already has a daughter-in-law, he didn't think that that was permitted to do these cosmetics. So
Was he
Yossi,
married?
what? Look,
Was,
you like
was
what?
he married?
Good question. So Yossi Rab Huna Bar Chinena Kamei de Rav Chizda. So Rav Huna Bar Chinena was sitting in front of Rav Chizda, meaning Rav Chizda was the teacher, and he was sitting in front of him. The Yossi V'Ka Amar, and he sat and he said that Loi Shonu Hod Loi Shonu, that this that you allowed Loi Shonu, we did not learn this. The Mishnah said Loi Shonu. Hod Omar Oisa Isa Isha Tachshito. This that the Tana said in our Mishnah that a woman can do her cosmetics. Eloyaldo, this is only talking about a young woman. Eloyaldo, Rashi says, Bachura, a young woman. Shedarko Bekach, who normally does it. Ulahachi Habilo Simcha B'moyed. And that's why for her, that's considered a joy during Chol HaMoed. The reason we're allowed to do it is because you're talking about a younger woman, and she normally does cosmetics, and therefore we allow it in Yonta because it's a simcha for her. But an older woman, they're calling it zakena just because she has a daughter-in-law, so she was 40. I mean, they don't consider that zakena. So basically, what was his argument? Abos Kenelo, the heichi of the ishtcha hachi. How could your wife being doing this? The mekashta that she is adorning herself. Hahabis kena, but she's older already. We're not allowed to do by an older one. So he says, no, I disagree with you. Amar lei ha'alikim, I swear, he says. Afilu imcha, not only your wife, even your mother, which is older than your wife, okay? Vafilu ima de imach, even your mother's mother. He says, Vafilu imedes al kivra. She's so old that she's standing at the grave. She is still allowed to adorn herself. Vafilu imedes al kivra, Pesach kivra, shario lihiskashet is permitted to adorn herself. Why? So he says like this: the Amri Inshi, because this is what people say. Bas shitin, bas shit, lekol tavle rota. A 60-year-old is like a 6-year-old that will run rota lekal tavla to the sound of the bells that are ringing. A 60-year-old will run equal to a 6-year-old. The kal tavla rota. What does it mean? Meaning, they consider they don't get old. They need to keep on doing the jewelry and the everything else that they want to use for cosmetics and to adorn themselves. Rashi explains the kol tal of rato pirush kishkush hazug, when the bell rings. Return to Lamer, what he's talking about, mini zemer bihilula, when there is a party and there is different types of instruments singing, they run there. So we say, just like a 6-year-old runs to this sound that there's a party going on, so does a 60-year-old do. And therefore, so here too, she can adorn herself. She can use the cosmetics. So we disagree with him. Sounds, by today's practices, we know that he's actually right, Rabbi Chisda, right? That's the practice is that it's that way. Okay. So now Rabbi Yehuda says specifically, he says that a woman loy Rabbi Yehuda loy tosud, she should not apply lime. Because what happens, the time that they put the lime on, again, at that time she doesn't look well at the time with the lime. They do it because later on it should look better, or I think it removes some of the hair, but the actual time when the lime is on the face, that's something which is uncomfortable. So Tanya, okay, so Rabbi Yehuda says no, that she's not allowed to do because she is causing herself distress during the Chol HaMoed. Tanya, we learned in the Braisa, Rabbi Yehuda says, Isha loy sosud, a woman should not put on the lime, mipnei shenivul hu lo. This is something because that it's a disgrace for her. Nivul hu lo, shegnai hu lo. It's embarrassing for her. V'nivul bisid, and this is a disgrace with Islam. Umitztaeres bisid, and she's in pain. So I guess two things. Nibul hula means it causes her distress because it causes her a disgrace, and also she's in pain. It's not comfortable. However, he agrees that what happens if she already has lime on her face, she's allowed to peel it off. Moida Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda does agree, while he doesn't allow to apply the lime, but he agrees that bisid sheyechola lekaploi b'moyed, that she is able to peel it off in the intermediate day of the festival. Okay, we have somebody else coming on. Hi, Ron. All right, we're in the middle here.
Good evening, Rabbi.
Okay. All right, so he says that Rabbi Yehuda agrees that the lime, that she is able to peel it off during the holiday, So I'm not sure. In other words, sometimes you put a lime that is not removable, so it stays on the entire time. So that causes the stress. But if it's a kind of a line that she's able to peel it off during the intermediate days, so then, because the result is Rashi says, even though right now she is disgraced with the lime, that she is allowed to apply it on the holiday. She may apply it on the Chol Hamoed. Why? Why? So that is permissible with the kind of a line. Why? He gives the logic for it. Why? Even though right now she's in pain because the lime on her face is not comfortable, she is happy later on, and therefore, go ahead, it's okay to do so. So basically, to put up lime that you can't peel off, that's not allowed on intermediate day. But to put on lime that she's able to peel off during the Chol Hamoed, then it's okay because there's a benefit later on. So here we learn an interesting principle that even though it's something that you're not comfortable with right now, but if at the end it's going to make you comfortable, then that is going to be acceptable. So the Gemara challenges this. Umi islay Rabbi Yehuda hay svara. Does then Rabbi Yehuda hold such a kind of a logic that if she is in pain now or she's upset now, but she's going to be happy later, that should be okay? Umi islay Rabbi Yehuda hay svara. That afal gav shehi mitzira achshav smecha v'chulu, that although she's in pain now, she's happy for later on, that this is a logic to allow it. But this goes against another halacha that Yehuda said in the Mishnah. So Rabbi Yehuda says, Nifroi mehen mipnei shemetza. Here the issue is, we're talking about the non-Jewish holiday. And the question is, what kind of interaction business can you do with the during their holiday? So if they owe you money, so Rabbi Yehuda says you can collect from them. You can collect the money that they owe you because it causes them distress. Why does it cause them distress? Because they have to pay up. You know, nobody's happy when you have to pay money. So for the goy, during their holiday to pay up is permitted because you're not making them happy in their holiday. Usually you try to refrain from things that make them happy so they praise their God. But this is not making them happy. This actually makes them, stresses them. And Rashi says, Nifroi mehem mehakusim b'yom chagom, from the kusim during the day of their holidays. Why? Mipnei shel mitzayir, because he is causing them pain, he's distressing them. The chol odom shepereya meitzar, because anybody who has to pay is upset. Nobody wants to pay up. However, you're not allowed to pay them a debt. Avaloi mishalmim lahem moment b'yom chagom. But you cannot pay the money on their holiday. You can't pay a debt on the holiday of the goy. Why? Because you're rejoicing them in the days of their holiday. And then they thank their idols that they're worshiping. As explained, you don't want to give them a reason to be happy. If you pay them the debt, they're going to be happy, and then they're going to praise their God for their happiness. So you don't want to give them the opportunity, but you are allowed to pay them. He disagrees with the Chachamim. The Chachamim says not only can you not pay them, you're not allowed to even collect from them. Why? Because there's a certain joy. Oh, I paid off my debt. You got rid of the debt. That gives you. So while you may be distressed right now, you don't want to pay. But once you paid off, you say, "Okay, I paid off." So there's a sense of joy there too, as Rashi says. Explains the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Amru loi, so the Chachamim said to Rabbi Yehuda, Afal pi shemeitzer achshov someach hu la'achar zman. Even though right now he's distressed because he has to pay, but he's still happy later on. After his debt, he got rid of the debt. And you're not allowed to do it on their holiday to make them happy. Well, the happiness is not now. The happiness will come later. But still, the payment now makes them happy later. You're not allowed to do it now. So you see that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't care about it. Rabbi Yehuda holds that right now he's distressed. Don't do it. You can't pay. So how come Rabbi Yehuda allows them to use the line? Because they can peel it off later. They'll be happy later. But right now they're distressed. So that should be the svara of Rabbi Yehuda. Let's see what Rashi says. So meichul achar zman sheparaloi, that he paid it. V'amai nifra mehen. So why does so he says after he's happy that he paid, and therefore he says so why do you collect from them? In other words, collecting from hold on 1 second. I'm stuck here. So why would he allow you to get paid from them? Because that's the opinion of the Chachamim. He should not get paid from them because he's causing him joy. The Chachamim say, even though Meitzar, but the bottom line is that he's happy that they paid. So why should you collect from them? That's why the Rabbanon say no. You're not allowed to even collect from them. Abel Rabbi Yehuda, but Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with that. Loi islay hay svara. He doesn't hold the svara because he holds the mishum shemeitzer achshov shori. Because right now he is in distress, he allows you to collect from him. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't care that later on he's going to be besimcha that he got paid so he doesn't look into the future. So how does it hold this svara? When it comes to the cosmetics, the procedure of putting the lime on, and he says, although she's right now in distress, she's happy later on. So why does Rabbi Yehuda allow over here because of what she's happy later on, even though there is a distress right now? So Amar Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak, I'm going to tell you at the end, we'll finish this piece of Gemara. I will share with you, this is actually also a machlokes between usually Beshama and Besila. I'll give you an example, whether we go, the issue is here, do we go by the present or whether we go by the future? According to this halacha, according to the Rabbanon, it looks like in this halacha here, we'll go by the future, even though right now it's a distress, but he enjoys it later, it applies now. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we go by what it's now. We have to see, give you another example, but over there it's Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, but halacha is like Beis Hillel, we'll have to make a distinction over here. But let's wait, I just want to finish the piece. Omar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok. So Rav Nachman Yitzchok says, Hanach lehilchis moyed. Leave alone the laws of Chol HaMoyed. Which means they have their own, the laws of Chol HaMoyed. Over there, we have a different gauge. We gauge by the laws of Chol HaMoyed what happens in the future. Because technically, all of the work we do in Chol HaMoyed, doing the work is not enjoyable. Standing in the kitchen and cooking on Chol HaMoyed is not enjoyable. But it's all for the future. You'll have a nice meal. So that's why we cook and we do everything. So basically, all of Chol HaMoyed is to do things that are maybe right now difficult, but we take into consideration what happens. And that's why we allow for this as well, even though we won't allow to get paid from the goy, because of what the future, but over here it's different. Hanach lehilchus Chol HaMoyed, l'hochi Amar Rabbi Yehuda the Shori, afal pishim etzira chulu. Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says over here that you're permissible to put on the peeling lime, even though she is distressed with it. Why? The kulu meitzar achshov v'somach la'achar zman ninu, because all of the laws of Yom Tov are all like that. Right now you're distressed, and then later on you're rejoicing. So Rashi says, the Kol Hilchos Moyed, the Shori, all the laws of Yom Tov that we permit is Mishum Haytaima Nami Shori. That's for that reason. It's the result. Why do we allow to do any malachas on Yom Tov? Because of what is going to take place later on. So he says, Kigoin, let's say, for example, Afiyo Bishul, to bake or cook. The Mitzayir Hashtok Shoifel Mavashal. That right now, when he's cooking and he is baking, so the person is in pain, he's distressed, doesn't want to cook. But why do you allow it? Because he's happy when he ate what he baked and what he cooked on Yom Tov. So that's why even on so it looks like not even on Chol HaMoyed, this is even on Yom Tov itself, we allow you to do work. We can do work on Yom Tov because of the result of Yom Tov. So therefore, the status of Chol HaMoyed is different. That's why we'll allow you to do things even though you're stressed out now for the benefit of later on. But that doesn't mean that we always take in the future into consideration. That's why by the case of paying up, collecting from the Goy on his holiday, Rabbi Yehuda will not allow it. Will allow it. In other words, he doesn't hold that the future right now. We just go by now. But by Chol HaMoyed, he looks into the future and he says that because she's going to be able to be happy later on, she can do it right now. Ravina Omar, he says that actually goy li'inyan piroyin lo'ilo meitzar. You're not causing the goy any happiness. When we talk about a goy, when it comes to paying, he's always going to be distressed. There's no happiness there, like we said before. Oh, I paid up my debts. So therefore, he doesn't have to worry. He disagrees with the Chachamim. They say you're not allowed to collect because the goy will be happy later on. He doesn't believe the goy will be happy later on. He says goy linyan piroim la'olam meitzer. He's also always going to be in distress. Kusi la'olam meitzer zaktrashi shepereya. He'll always be distressed that he has to pay. Ulahachi lo islay Rabbi Yehuda hosam. That's what Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold over there. Afal pisha meitzer sameach v'chulu. Even though he's distressed, he's also happy. He doesn't hold that. He's never going to be happy. And that's why he's not allowing you, that's why he's allowing you to collect your debt. He says the guy is always upset. But before, when we talk about the treatment of the lime, Islay Rabbi Yehuda, over there Rabbi Yehuda holds, even though that presently she's distressed, she's happy later on. And that's why he also takes in to the consideration the status, what she will feel later on, right now. All right, let's do a little bit. This is a little bit of a graphic Gemara. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, B'nois Yisrael shegiu lepirkon. Jewish daughters that reach the puberty, basically, and they are showing signs of purity, but they're not yet of age. And specifically, there is the laws of the year. So Rashi says Yigil Pirkom Liseyor, but but they're not yet 12 years old. So they're not considered yet to be, they're still minors, and they're not considered matured. But Yigil Lishonim Zok Rashi, She'enom B'nois Yudbeis Shono V'yoyim Echad. They are not yet 12 years and one day. Shadayin Einoi Din Sheyehei Lohem Sar. They still don't have, they should not have yet, they went in advance, they should not have yet here, Uboishes al Kach. And they are embarrassed in them. So what do you do with it? So Aniyos, the poor one, Teuflis Oison Besid. The treatment is you put the lime on them. Rashi says, if you put the lime, that removes here. Aniyas Teuflis has seyor. You treat the hair besid with lime. Umashira says, and they have the hair, they make the hair fall down. Ashiris. What about the wealthy ones? They can afford more. Teuflis oisum besoilus. They get the treatment with fine flour. I guess that also removes the hair. Benois melachim. Daughters of kings, meaning very important. They use shemen hamoir. What is the oil? The more shenemar, like we say, shisha chadoshim b'shemen hamoir. That's in the Megillah by Esther. I guess that's to remove the hair. So, what is my shemen hamoir? What is the shemen hamoir? So Rabbi Huna bar Chiya Omar, that he says it's a perfume which is called sateket, sateches. Rav Yirmiyah ben Ami Omar, he says shemen zayis shaloi hevi shlish. That's olive oil that has been extracted from a olive that has not yet ripened. A third of it's not yet; it's still unripened. Only less than a third. So, um, so Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer. So Rabbi Yehuda says an pikinun. Sometimes we find in the Mishnah the word an pikinun. So he says, like in the Menachos, Hainu an pikinun diktoni also be Menachos. We find in the Gemara Menachos Peyam Beis an pikinun lo yovi. That you're not allowed to bring. That's we're talking about. You need the oil to bring together with the mincha. You can't bring an pikinun. What does it mean? Hainu oisish shemen shoisim bezeisim. That is the oil you make from the olive, but it's shemen zayis shaloi hevi shlish. It's olive oil that has not yet come from an olive that has not been a third. Shaloi hevi shlish, which means shaloi bishlu shlish. They haven't ripened yet a third. So now, why do we smear all these different things we were talking about, the lime or the fine flour or the oil, the this less than a third ripe? Why do we do that? The Gemara shemashir es hasar uma'adin es habosar, that drops the hair and it makes the skin smooth. Ma'adin es habosar. Okay, so the Gemara says, Rabbi Havale Brata. Rabbi had a daughter, and Tofla Aver, and she did one limb at a time. That she used this treatment one at a time. So Shokelba Arba Mezuzah. So that made the hair and her body, everything. She looked much more beautiful, and she looked so better. So he went and he took from her husband, Shokal Bodal Mezuzah, for giving him such a beautiful wife. So he took from her husband, he took 400 zuz because she became so much beautiful through this treatment. Rashi says, Shokal Ba'arba Mezuzah, Shenisyapis, because she became beautiful. V'notal mi bailokach, and then he took such from her husband. So the Gemara says, there was a goy, have hahu goy. There was a goy, b'shivivuse, in the neighborhood. The Havali Brata, she also had a daughter. And what she did was, instead of doing one part at a time, toflo b'chad zimno, she did the treatment at once, v'mesa, and she died. It was too much. That was too hard treatment, do it at once. Amar, he says, Kotlo Bibi Liberati. Bibi, not to mix it up. Bibi, because Rabibi was, he says, he killed my daughter because I learned from him that he went and his daughter, she did a treatment one limb at a time. But he did the whole thing altogether. So that wasn't a good choice, I guess. Okay, we'll leave it over here, but I just wanted to share with you, actually, for the Rebbe's Sicha, This has to do with the Gemara Menachos also, which talks about the mincha, about in the parsha. So just this whole idea, do we go by the present, or we go by the future? Over there in the Mishnah, there is actually a machlokes, and it's interesting. Like over here from the Gemara, you see that according to all opinions, the Gemara later on, the second opinion, we would always take into consideration what happens in the future. So, like we're saying, that even though right now you're in pain, but if it makes you beautiful, you can do so. So you're actually enjoying now the future. Almost like saying you're going to exercise, it's hard, but then you enjoy because you're enjoying the hardship because you're losing weight or it's healthy. So it's, but even though right now it's pain, but we don't consider that pain because of the future. Person goes on vacation. It's, more comfortable at home, but it's a little more fun to go on a trip, right? So it's sometimes the future enjoyment overtakes the present. But over there in the Mishnah, there is a question which is Rebbe shows in another seat and very places in the Gemara. Do we consider the present now, or we go by what it's actually now? Over there, they're talking about the laws of Tumah for honey. Now, there's a special law of Tumah for liquid. Honey is considered a liquid, but it's only a liquid once it's been extracted from the comb. While the honey is still in the comb, it's considered to be a food, not a liquid. When it's extracted, it's considered to be a liquid. There is a difference in the tumah, whether it's a food or it's a liquid, what the status of the tumah is. But the honey only becomes a status of a liquid at what point? So the Mishnah brings a machlokes. This is the end of the tractate Uktzin, which is the last tractate in the Maseches Tara, which is the last Mishnah of the Seder Taris. There is a machlokes between the Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. At what point does the honey become liquid? So according to the Beis Hillel, the honey is liquid when you actually have a liquid. In other words, once it's extracted, once you crush the sheirasik, once you crush the comb, and you actually have a liquid, then when it's running, that's when it's a liquid. But according to Beis Shammai, there's actually two versions of Beis Shammai. He says the minute you thought that you're going to extract the honey from the combs, that honey already has the status of a liquid, because just by thinking, so even though it's only the potential, but still, that potential actually gets the status now as if it was a liquid. And the Rebbe brings this down to explain, because in a way, you have to ask yourselves a question. The Rebbe brings down from the Rambam, and from the Kutei Torah, the Rebbe brings down, what's the purpose of a soul coming down into this world? Why are we here in this world? We're here in this world because Hashem created us in this world. But is there a benefit for us? Or maybe Hashem creates us just for Him? Who's the one that benefits from creating people in the world? We say, like the Mishnah says from the Pasuk, Kol ma shebara Kadosh Baruch Hu God created everything for His glory. So why did Hashem create us over here? Did He create to benefit us, or He creates for Himself? You ask, what does Hashem need to create a world uh, to benefit Himself? What is He missing? Why did He need this world to create? Why did He have to bring us into this world? How are we adding anything to Hashem? And the answer is, as explained in Hasidus and in the Zohar, Hashem wanted to make for Himself a place in this world, which means Hashem wants that, despite the fact that the world doesn't appreciate Hashem on its own, we should reveal godliness into the world. It's sort of a game of hide and go seek. Hashem is hiding, and He created a world in which we don't see Him. And He wants us to go seek and discover like Hashem is actually in this world. So that would be totally for Hashem. That will be, Hashem wants, this is something that Hashem wants. He created the world for Himself. But we know at the end of the day that a Yid, when it comes down to this world, he accomplishes a tremendous elevation to his soul and to his level. He goes up to a tremendous elevation. But the question is, for the person's elevation, if it's solely for the person's elevation, did we have to bring him down to this world? Because Hashem knows that eventually we're all going to do the right thing. It may not in this reincarnation, maybe another reincarnation, but at the end it says lo yidach mimenu nidach. So we know that we're going to do the right things. Hashem knows that in the beginning. So potentially our greatness that we reach by coming down into the world doesn't really need to happen to benefit us, because we can benefit the same thing before coming down into this world. Then the only reason why we come down of the world is for Hashem's glory. So Hashem should be in the world. We don't benefit, because if we go after the potential, like Beis Shammai said, the potential is there before we come down into the world. So then the whole world was created just for Hashem. But the Beis Hillel, potential is not enough. When we actually work and we service and we struggle and we go through all the challenges, that's when we actually reach. That's according to Beis Hillel. And the Rebbe brings this to the next, I know it's a little bit philosophical, but the Rebbe brings this to the next level, to the next Mishnah, which says that in the future Hashem will give every tzaddik 310 worlds. And the Rebbe argues that's not a reward, because tzaddikim are not looking for reward. But the Rebbe says, it says, Lahanchil oyev yesh, a tzaddik ends up connecting with Hashem, which means it's not a benefit for the person themselves, which he could be elevated, but it's a benefit of connecting a person with Hashem through the Torah mitzvahs. He connects with the yesh hamuchlat, as the Rebbe calls it there from the language of the Rambam, and the yesh hatmidi, the constant entity, the real entity, which is only Hashem. Through the Torah, it's not a reward, but rather this is an inheritance. This is a connection that you make with Hashem. I know these words seem a little bit lofty. That's in a detailed and in a very difficult, I'm saying it's a sikh we studied, but just this idea, we cannot satisfy ourselves with our potential. We got to do actually in practical. But just to finish up, we just celebrated Purim, and we just read the Parsha Zohar. So I think it's very important, what we see going on in the world is for us to remember, because, and I'm talking about just for us as a people, seemed like the Jewish people united. They were people doing mitzvahs. People were all into getting closer to Hashem, and everybody realized. But fortunately, time does its things. People start the sympathy for Israel, our own involvement. Everybody's going back. How long can you be under this duress as a day after day? But I think the idea is, Zachar, we have to remember all the time, and we need to be able to hopefully see the end to all this violence. And Hashem, the Mishnah finishes the Levarach Samei Basholim, to grant us a level of peace so that we can live without fear and without the constant worries that we have, and hopefully we'll merit to see that it'll be a complete victory, and be peace in the world, and in Israel. So that's what we can ask for. Okay, we'll leave it over here. Wish everybody a good day. See everybody next week in Mitzvah Hashem. Same stein. Ron, I hope you're feeling better, Ron. Are you doing better?
Getting there slowly.
Baruch Hashem. Keep on progressing. We'll make Yom Mishaberach for you. And
Thanks.
hopefully we'll hear good news for all of us.
Okay, thanks.
Stay well.